This is Olivia.
I'll tell you the story of Jimmy J, and you know what I tell you is true. He loved to watch his TV set as almost as much as you. He watched all day, he watched all night, till he grew pale and lean, from the early show to the late show, and all the shows between. He watched till his eyes were frozen wide, and his bottom grew into his chair, and his chin turning to a tuning dial, and a antenna grew out of his hair. And his brain turned into TV tubes, and his face into a TV screen. And two knobs saying Bert and Horace grew where his ears has been. And he grew a plug that looked like a tail, so we plugged in Little Jim. And now instead of him watching TV, we all sit around and watch him.
And again, I love that picture because you have perspective on that picture. It shows depth, the way you drew the sides of the television. Very, very good. All right, Adam.
I'll tell you the story of Jimmy Jet, and what I tell you is true. He loved to watch his TV set almost as much as you. He watched all day, he watched all night, till he grew pale and lean. From the early show to the late show, and all the shows between. He watched till his eyes were frozen wide, and his bottom grew into his chair, and his chin turned into a tuning dial, and an antenna grew out of his head, and his brain turned into TV tubes, and his face to a TV screen, and two knobs saying Bert and Horace grew where his ears had been. And he grew a plug that looked like a tail, so we plugged in Little Jim. And now instead of watching watching TV, we all sit around and watch him.
Very good. I love your eye contact. Love it. All right, Jason.
I'll tell you the story of Jimmy Jet, and you know what I tell you is true. He loved to watch his TV set almost as much as you. He watched all day, he watched all night, till he grew pale and lean, from the early show to the late show, and all the shows between. He watched till his eyes were frozen wide, and his bottom grew into his chair, and his chin turned into a turning fan. Antenna grew out of his hair, and his brains turned into TV tubes, and his face to a TV screen, and two knobs saying Bert and Horace grew where his ears had been, and he grew a plug that looked like a tail, so we plugged in Little Jim, and now instead of him watching TV, we all sit around and watch him.
Very good. And that was much better that time. Very, very good, Jason.
And that was Jason.
And that was Jason. And here is Pratik.
The folk who live in backwards town are inside out and upside down. They wear their hats inside their heads and go to sleep beneath their beds. They only eat the apple peelings and take their walks across the ceilings.
That's the apple peeler right there. Very good. All right, Alex.
The folk who live in backwards town are inside out and upside down. They wear their hats inside their head. And go to sleep beneath their beds. They only eat the apple peeling and take their walks across the ceiling.
Very good. And I am very impressed with how you read that just by memorizing it. Thank you for introducing Adam. Here's Landon.
The Folk Who Lived in Backward Town by Mary Ann Potterman. The folk who lived in Backward Town are inside out and upside down. They wear their hats inside their heads and go to sleep beneath their beds. They only eat the apple peeling and take their walks across the ceiling.
You know, you're the only person that said the author. Very good. All right, Jake.
And this is Drake. The folk who live in backwards towns are inside out and upside down. They wear their hats inside their heads and go to sleep beneath their beds. They only eat the apple pudding and take their walk across the city.
Very good, Drake. I love your picture, too. All right, Tristan.
I'll tell you the story of Jimmy Jack. And you know what I tell you is true. He loved to watch his TV set almost as much as you. He watched all day, he watched all night, until he grew pale and lean. From the early show to the late show, and all the shows between. He watched till his eyes were frozen white, and his bottom grew to his chair. And his trend turned into a tuning dial, and a tinted grew of his hair. His brains turned into a TV tube, and his face turned into a TV screen. And two knives there and Bert and Horace grew where his ears had been. And he grew a plug that looked like a tail. So he plugged a little Jim in, little Jim. Now instead of him watching TV, we're all sitting around watch him.
Very good. And on his couch, he drew the 3 people who sit on the couch to watch him. Very good. Very good. All right, Sarah. Sarah Stokes.
I'll tell you a story of Jimmy Jet, and you know what I'll tell you is true almost as much as you. He watched all day, he watched all night, till he grew pale and lean. From the early show to the late show, and all the shows between. He watched till his eyes were frozen wide, and his bottom grew into his chair, and his chin turned into a tuning dial, and an antenna grew out of his hair, and his brains turned into a TV tube, and his face to a TV screen, and 2 knobs sang Bert and Horace grew out of his ears had been, and he grew a plug that looked like a tail, so we plugged little Jim, and now instead of watching TV, we'll sit around and watch him.
Very good, Sarah. And I love her picture. Her picture shows him with the remote in his hand watching the TV. And that's a very good TV because it even has, what's it say on the TV?
The early show.
The early show. She put the early show on the TV. Good, Sarah. All right. Here comes Emily, Little Britches.
The folk who live in backward town are inside out and upside down. They wear their hats beside their heads and go to sleep beneath their beds. They only eat the apple peelings and take their walks across the sea.
Very good. And she, like I said, she even put her sun upside down. Everything is upside down in her picture. Good, Emily. Braden.
By Mark Braden Trolling. The folk who lived in backward town are inside out and upside down. They wear their hats and inside their heads and go to sleep beneath their beds. They only eat the apple peelings and they walk across and they take their walk across the ceiling.
And Braden labeled his. He put ceiling up here and he put the ground on the bottom so we would remember that it was upside down.
And if I turn it around,
If you turn around, then everything's right side up.
I know. And these two are. I got 2 labels, so one can be upside down and upside up.
Now that's some creative thinking. All right.
And now,
You can pick, Courtney. Just decide which one. Let Zoe go and you can pick your poem, okay? And this is, I'm sorry, Zoe. This is Zoe.
I'll tell you the story of Jimmy Jet, and you know what I tell you is true. He loved to watch his TV set almost as much as you. He watched all day, he watched all night, till he grew pale and lean. From the early show to the late show and all the shows in between. He watched till his eyes were frozen white, and his bottom grew into his hair, and his chin turned into a tuning dial, and then it grew out of his hair.
And he grew up low that looked like a tail, so we plugged in little Jim. And now instead of him watching TV, we all sit and watch him.
Very good. And I love her eye contact. She made sure and made good eye contact. And her picture is fabulous. Look at that picture. I see his tail and his antenna. Very good, Zoe. Now here's Courtney.
The folk who lived in backward town or inside out and upside down, they were there.
They wear their hats.
They wear their hats and go to sleep
Beneath
beneath
their beds.
their beds. They
Only
only eat the apple
peeling.
peeling and
Take
others
their walks
take their walk
across
across the
ceiling. Good job.
And that was Miss Mott's class saying The Folk Who Live in the Backward Town by Mary Ann Halberman, and also Jimmy Jet and his TV set lyrics, Shel Silverstein, who made it, 3rd grade.
Very good.
I just